Hey, welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's Dr. Santos here with Santos Counseling. The topic for today we're going to get into is all about that nervousness maybe that your child experiences before going to school. Now, I'm making this video right in that August time frame. And at this time and place, I've got kids of my own. They're in that space. It's later in the summer. And I think for many parents, when it gets later in the summer, right around like August, it starts to be a conversation like getting to bed early, less tablet time, what's my schedule, who's going to be in my class, are my friends going to be there, right? All these questions that often they have like this element of nervousness within them. So something I want you to think about is your child. Is your child anxious about going back to school? And how do they show that anxiousness? So for me as a parent, I see that anxiousness where my kids will ask a lot of questions. As a counselor, when I work with kids or I work with parents, the anxiousness is uh, difficulty going to sleep, or maybe like this, what can be seen as like a rebellious behavior or oppositional, right? They're yelling, they're throwing things, they're really upset. Deep down in those layers is that anxiousness, right? Your child feels anxious about that next step about going to school. My hope is that as we dive into this video, it gives you some comfort, it gives you some layers of support, and you're able to take with you some action points that you can implement into life. Because I'll tell you, as a parent, that's a hard area, right? Like we've got our work schedule, we've got so much that we're doing in life already, and then taking on that extra element of that nervousness, that anxiety, it's heavy and it's challenging. So looking at let's start with something simple. Let's start looking at what is it? Why does it happen? First, back to school anxiety, it's real. I think at all levels, elementary, middle, high, and certainly certain things help when they're excited to see certain friends, certain peers. Even at a college level, at the practice here at Santos Counseling, we'll get undergraduate students, master's level, doc students, and often they'll share different levels of anxiousness. So you know what? It's real. I want to say that, and I want to say it really clearly, because I think for parents, it's important to acknowledge, this is not my child being dramatic. This is not my child trying to just get out of this and stay out of school, right? Something is going on. And what's happening is that your child, right up here in this, the noggin, your child's brain is doing exactly what brains are designed to do. As a counselor, I see that kind of looking back at some research, some lectures. Here's what the brain does, right? The brain scans and it scans around and it's looking for uncertainty. And then when it finds it, whoa, 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 the alarm goes off. That was my version of an alarm, right? And so anxiety is a nervous system's threat detection system. Problem is, right? So we look at what is the problem. The problem here is it doesn't always know the difference, right? When it's detecting this anxiety, when it's detecting some sort of uncertainty or threat, it doesn't always know the difference between what's actually dangerous and new and unfamiliar, which can kind of throw things a little bit out of whack. So for a child, maybe a 12-year-old heading back to school, right? They're going into that like sixth, seventh, or eighth grade year. There's a lot of unknowns. Bam, all coming in at once, right? Who's in my class? Who's my teacher? Who's going to sit beside me? Am I going to be in the front, in the back of the class? Are my friends going to be anywhere nearby? Who's going to sit with me at lunch? These are a lot of questions, and sometimes we don't have all the answers to these. What if I can't find the room? What if I can't find the class? What if I can't find the friends? And it just piles on and piles on. And you know what they're getting? They're getting a lot of uncertainty. And to a child's developing brain, it can feel like a real threat. So, what did I say earlier, right? The system responds to that threat. That's why we see things. We see things like my daughter, I remember she would do this, my stomach hurts. And I'm like, does it really hurt? Or sleep problems, meltdowns, right? That's some of the things that we see in the counseling space. And as a parent, you may see some of those. So take a deep breath, right? There's ways to navigate these, right? The headaches, the stomach aches in the morning, the sleep problems, or trouble falling asleep, or nightmares, or waking up early, irritability, the emotional outbursts, maybe clinginess, right? Like there's attachment to you and you're kind of worried. I don't want them to be overly attached. I need them to be independent. Maybe asking the same thing, what if questions over and over. Again, for parents, let's take a deep breath. You know, a parent myself, let's look at, all right, we can work through this. Let's start with what not to say. Maybe that's a little bit easier. I think it's important to reassure kids and to be there for our kids. If I look at what not to say, you know, one of those things is everything's going to be fine, right? I want to shift away from that, and I want to use something a bit more of I can see this feels really uncomfortable, right? So I could start with that instead of everything's going to be fine. I could use I can see, I can see this feels really uncomfortable, or that makes sense. You know, new things, new feelings coming up, that lets us go a little bit further in there into that space of calmness, consistency, supporting that nervous system, supporting it to regulate. If I just say to my child, everything's going to be fine, I mean, they got all that uncertainty, right? And I mentioned that there's a lot of uncertainty, all those questions. If I say everything's going to be fine, it's not a big deal, it doesn't really help them address that. But if I can sit with them and say, I can see that this is really uncomfortable, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you, that it's uncomfortable. Now, here's some things that we can do, and then we'll end the video here. Again, if your child's feeling some of these areas, experiencing some of this anxiety, if as a parent you're finding that it's a struggle, we're here to help. You know, if you're in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, reach out to Santos Counseling. There's a lot of really amazing, wonderful clinicians on staff that can be of help. If you are further out, still in North Carolina, we do remote work. Here's something that we can do as parents. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, we can validate before reassurance. So that starts with naming what you see before you try to fix it. Number two, prepare, don't avoid. So avoidance just makes anxiety grow, 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 grow. Prepare. Something I did way back is when my daughter started middle school, we drove to the middle school. We walked around. I really wanted her to see the space, right? I knew that there were going to be challenges already, but if I could go ahead and prepare and address one of those challenges of how do I get to my class? What does the building look like? Where's the cafeteria? Right away, those uncertainties, it starts to address them, which means that if you're catching on, it means the nervous system is regulating. And the last one, number three, build anchors. Anxious kids feel calmer when things are predictable, right? So anchors are morning routines, a phrase that you do or a thing you do in the car. Like my kids love a chill mix. They'll put it on playlist. They'll listen to it. It's a nice routine, a nice ritual that helps to signal safety. All right, parents, I'm hoping you found this video helpful. My name is Dr. Santos. Thank you for being a part of this channel. I will see you in a future episode.